When Deborah invited me here, she said, you've got 18 minutes to talk about your passions. I need about 18 years. So thanks very much for inviting me here. I just want to I'm going to talk a little bit about being clever, but I'm going to talk about that right at the end of what I'm going to talk in these 18 minutes. I just wanted to start off by basically just giving you a few statistics about managers and management. Just a few facts here. In the UK, there are about 63 million people. That's an awful lot of people. Funny enough, only about 30 of those are actually employed. Of that, 6 million of them are actually managers. If you think about it, 1 in 4 people is actually a boss. That's a hell of a lot of chiefs telling you what to do. Supervisors, team leaders, managers, senior managers. It actually works out about 1 in 4 people. The real statistic is actually only about 20% of them have actually had any training. And in fact, only about 3% of the managers are actually qualified. Now, if you think about it, these guys are looking after you every single day from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock, 300 days a year. And there are 26 million of you, or either, they're either people who are untrained managers, or they're like some of us lot, are being managed by people who are completely untrained and unqualified. Now, that's a rather frightening thought. And if you look at it in terms of electricians, would you want an electrician coming to your granny's home to do the electrics who's not qualified? And yet, as I said, every single day for 300 days a year, or however many days it is we're working, these guys are looking after us and managing us. And the way that we start the whole process off is by just asking the question, what's the difference between leadership and management? The difference between leadership and management. And for me, it's a very important thing, because leadership is something that comes from within. It's something that comes from within us. Leaders inspire people to go to places and do things, whereas managers, they just get the team and take those people to where it is that place is where we need to go to, if that makes sense. So how do you teach someone to be a better leader and a better manager? Well, being a better leader, actually, there's so many components to become a good leader, but becoming a manager, it's quite easy. I could teach you something about being a good leader today. Will you be a better leader tomorrow? The answer is probably not. You've got to earn it. And there's a question about when it comes to earning something, there's an element of value there. But then in order to teach someone to be a better manager, it's quite easy. I could teach you something about being a better manager today, and straight away you can start being a better manager tomorrow. So there is a subtle difference. The other thing is that we've got to ask ourselves, are leaders naturally born? I think they are. I have a little naturally born leader in my family. My little daughter is 5 years old. She's a Leo, bosses us all around. But there are people generally who want to be in charge, so I can understand where they fit in. But is it possible to become a good leader? And yes, it is. I think it is possible. If we look at this particular thing here, it says that leadership, really the attributes of a good leader, if they sit at the top of there, then we can actually break that down. There's our technical skills. So if you think about the first time you got promoted, it's probably because technically you were very good at what you did, or you were the most experienced, or you were just the oldest. You're in charge. And the dilemma is, it literally starts there. Suddenly you get given a bunch of people to be in charge of. And you all go, what the hell do we do? How do we manage these people? How do we get the best out of them? And it's those management skills that are just so important. And we've got to work out what exactly those skills are. And at the same time, we need to get this balance as well, to be able to develop ourselves, to get us to improve our human capital value by continuously developing. There's getting this balance between technical skills and management skills that provide the fundamentals to becoming a good leader. Of course, there's other aspects like charisma and all those other components that make good leadership and inspiration. But it's these management skills that I decided really to sort of focus it on. And I asked the question, what makes an outstanding manager? And you probably all know this, actually, because if you think, you've probably actually worked for an outstanding manager at some time. The person who makes you feel fantastic, who makes you turn up and work, who makes you motivated. And if you think about them, then don't think about the activities they actually do. Actually, just think about how they made you feel. And actually, when you ask that question, you'll probably come back with saying, they listened to me, they talked to me, their door was always open. I always felt I could approach them. And what you'll find out, actually, the biggest component that makes managers outstanding and successful is that they actually care about you. They value you as a person. And it takes very little to value people. So the habits of outstanding people, really does come to that. Is how we value each other really is very, very important. What was very interesting is that when I was at Sandhurst, the Sandhurst motto was serve to lead. And we all, if you think about, from in my country, from the Queen all the way down, anyone who's in position of public, anyone in position of responsibility, it's that element of how we serve people to lead them. They all get about this idea about actually, we just need to value people. And there are 3 guidelines that I took out of everything here. The first thing is, to help build this, is that we need to essentially have good manners. We need to be clear about what we expect people to do and tell them how it is that we want them to do it. The other thing is that we never want to let our team fail. It's so important that we never want to. We need to have things in place to always make sure that we're always problem solving, always analyzing things, always doing things in a better way. And then the other thing is we need to manage people as we would expect to be managed. I mean, that's one of the sort of Christian commandments, treat people as you expect to be treated yourself. And so at the end of the day, when it actually comes to how we go about managing our people, there's a very simple concept that I have, is that it's very important that the guys at the top of a business are very clear to the guys at the next level about what it is that we expect people to do, and that's just basic good manners. And likewise, you guys as managers and team leaders must be very clear about what we expect out of people. And if this line here represents the start of the year and the end of the year, and that line represents what we're expected to do, then if you stray outside of that, all you're doing is you're wasting time. And this is what actually happens, is that we end up spending an awful lot of time doing things that we're not really expected to do. So when you turn up, if it's not clear, these peaks and troughs other side of the line is the time spent doing stuff you're not actually supposed to do. It's the time that's wasted. So clarity in what it is that we're meant to do, how we be clear about that is absolutely critical. So here is an example. If we're earning £40,000 a year, 25% of this time is in those peaks and troughs doing stuff we're not expected to do. It means that we're actually wasting £10,000 a year. Okay, there's a value element to that. And at the end of the day, if you were to then pass that down to the next level, and if you're not clear what's expected and the next level not clear about what's expected, then what happens is that they turn up and they're working exactly the same way. So if you had 4 people actually working 25% less effective, you actually need 4 people to do 5 people to do 4 people's work. Well, is your HR department going to let you recruit someone? Probably not. But now we just wonder why it is that we spend a lot of time actually at the end of the day not leaving on time. So one thing is that I think it's very important that managers understand is the concept of something about the cost of doing nothing. The cost of actually communicating, if we go back up to here, it doesn't cost anything to communicate. From the top to the bottom, to the middle, from the middle to the bottom. Actually, communications costs nothing at all, but what does cost an awful lot is if we don't communicate. And at the end of the day, managers need to understand this concept, the cost of not doing something, because that's the measurable return of if you get it right, you can actually get a value back from it. And so I just want to talk very quickly about perception. The way that you see problem solving in your business nowadays is very different from how someone else perceives it. And it's very important that as a manager, we understand that perception clouds the way that we see things. So the way that you see things may be very different from the way that you see things. People say that people's star signs makes up a character, and actually everyone looks at things in a different way. Well, the beauty of this when it comes to value management and understanding people is that if you collaborate with people and sit down, you put a problem in the middle of there and allow people to discuss it, you'll actually get the best ideas about what the problem is and the best ideas about what the solutions could be. What we're actually doing, by the way, is we're talking to each other. We're communicating culture. We're telling those people, I give a damn about you. And this is about basically saying to them, I value your opinion. Okay. Also, by the way, we get people to buy in. That's why we say, let's get Bob in to have a look at it, because he can see it from a different angle. It's from his perspective about what he thinks the problem is. Okay, and the other key thing about that is that the more people get involved in that, the more people buy into it, which is another value statement. All these things are about value statements. And getting people to buy into people means that we can get people to do what it is that we want them to do, and that they want to do what it is that we want them to do, because surely that's got to be the battle. I mean, how many times that when you don't delegate, it's because you don't trust them? What's the message you're sending your staff and your people? It's you're sending them, I don't trust you to do something. Okay, just think about that. And yet delegation is probably one of the most powerful tools to empowering people, to learning how we can and to motivate people. So perception plays a huge key part of this, and it means that when we're looking at problems, it means that we can help to actually identify when there's a problem. We not just want to know what the symptom is, in other words, the cost of not doing something. We need to find out what the cause is. What are the key root causes? And by working with people, collaborating, we'll get a much bigger perspective. How often is it that what you think is going on, and actually once you've written down on a piece of paper and discussed with people, what's actually going on is so completely different. Okay, a pen and a piece of paper, by the way, I know there's internet and everything else, a pen and piece of paper is the most powerful tool to helping us to take things out of our mind and putting them on a piece of paper, because by then we can put perspective on it and make better judgments about what it is that we want to do. So problem solving is one of the key things about, in terms of management, is very, very important. However, I think the biggest challenge is this thing, managing change. It's only when you can get someone to change the way they see things, does there become a reality. And I always remember 2 years ago, I was in PC World buying a PC, and I was with my little daughter. She said, "Daddy, I really need to go for a pee." And it was urgent. She was only 4.5, and I said, "Okay, no problem, no problem." So I went up to the member of the staff, and I said, "Listen, is there a loo around here, because my daughter desperately wants to go to the loo?" And he said, "Yeah, there's one at the end of the corridor, but it's a staff one, you can't use it. The customer's one's about 200 yards down the road." And I said, "That ain't going to work, because this one needs to go quickly." So anyway, I went straight down to the end. As I came to the end of the door, there was a big chap standing there. And he said, "Excuse me, sir, where do you think you're going?" So "I've got to go to the loo. My daughter desperately needs to go for a pee, and it's really urgent." And there he is in his uniform, and he turns around, "Sorry, sir, because of health and safety, you can't go in there." I said, "Funny you should mention health and safety, because you hang on for about 2 or 3 minutes. There's going to be a lovely health and safety problem literally just there, and I ain't going to clear it up." The cost of doing nothing, changing someone's perception, getting people on board to make them actually change the way they do things, that's got to be a very critical thing. What I want to do is just very quickly, I'm just going to bring this over here. I am conscious about the time that we're talking. And really, one of the other most important things is just being clever about how we manage people. So I just want to draw this very quick diagram. These are enormous, these pens. Anyway, there we go. I just want to tell you about how we value each other. It's true. There's something very unique about all of us. And I think when you join a company, let's say you're a young person, you're on £22,000, when you join, you come with an element of knowledge and know-how and some skills and knowledge. In fact, if you look at our CV, it's what we've achieved in life and what we know gives us our value. Did you know that? That CV, if you don't keep it updated, it means you're not increasing in value. It's very, very important. So when we join a company at this particular point here, we may be worth £22,000 now, but it's what happens between when we start and when we leave. Now, all of you know that actually your teams and your relationships change all the time. Either you get promoted or someone else gets promoted. The bottom line is that when you start a relationship, the most important thing is to focus on, well, when are you actually going to go? Because it's going to happen at some stage. I always turn around to staff, "Yeah, welcome to the team. You know you're going to leave at some stage, and it's the time that you spend together that's important." Now, if you join a company you're worth £22,000, what is it that's going to make it worthwhile at the end of that particular period? And it's quite funny, some people go and do a job, and what they'll do is they'll do the job and then they'll leave. They're still worth £22,000. But the way I look at it is that if you think about it like this, is if you build your relationship based on the following, is telling a member of staff is that you start here, and at some stage when we go, we need to find out how we can increase that value to get it up to £30,000. And it's the time that you spend to someone, realizing that it's understanding that from this point and this point is the time that you're going to go and have together. It's a fact. Most teams change all the time. So how are we going to get this? And what's the best way that we can help you increase that and that you can help us increase that? So by the time that you move on into another team or doing something else, your human capital value over time has increased. And really, that's the key thing here, is that how we can do that. And the art of problem solving and managing change, if we can basically quantify what it is we do, at each point that we actually end up meeting, on a monthly or weekly basis or whenever it is, at each point that we review what we're doing, if we can set new goals and objectives and review, basically look at the problems that are working and improve them as best we can do, then what it means is that we're continuously increasing our human capital value. And it's this relationship that we need to understand right from the outset. So human capital value over a period of time. The bottom line is that how clever is that? I think it's very clever. I think the biggest problem that we have is that when we're managing these relationships, we need to start from the point at which point we're going to end and what is it we're going to get out of this relationship. Because it's very easy to turn up and do a job and leave at a period of time. But what's fascinating is that people pay you to turn up, to learn and to improve. And what better way of improving? By looking at everything that we do when we're at work and trying to improve the best things to do. The winners are the company, because at the end of the day, when this person turns up, if that's what the knowledge base of the company is, when they leave, they've actually increased this one. So the company gets their human capital return of investment, and so do you when you actually leave. The advantage is that if you were to look at this in terms of like a property, you've actually increased from £22,000 to £30,000 a year. Well, that's your value. If you consider yourself like a property and a continuous capital investment, then that's really where we get our value. So at the end of the day, the key thing that I want for you to take home is that we need to be clever about the relationships that we have with people. Make sure that when you start a relationship with someone, we understand that at some stage it's probably going to end. It's what you do in between that matters. Okay, thank you very much indeed. That's my question.